into the party wagon and hold on to your pizza. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Epic Tales from the Sewers. I am your host, Justin. With me is my co-host, Eric. How you doing, Eric?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you.
There he is. All right, I'm glad. There's a little bit of a delay. You had me worried there.
My bad.
A very, very special guest, a cover artist for The Last Ronin, amongst many other things. He's worked for Image, Aftershock, Dynamite, Boom Studios, and I had DC Comics as well, and of course, IDW's The Last Ronin. Mr. Aaron Bartling, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on here.
Yeah, we're excited. I don't know if I'm excited, but Eric was sure excited. I'm just kidding. We're both excited. Yeah. The obvious question that I have to ask is, how does it feel to be the most sought after cover for like the hottest comic book on the market?
It's crazy, man. I think, it's still surreal, but I think, in the past, like initially in 2020, it was just pretty crazy to experience. And I honestly never thought it would have blown up the way that it did. And it's crazy because now I'm kind of like known as like the Last Ronin guy or whatever.
Yeah, right. I could see that.
Yeah, it's funny. So, but yeah, no, it's been amazing, man. Super humbled just to have the amount of just love that it's gotten. And it's crazy too that like it seems like every Ronin cover that drops, just the hype just increases with each one.
Oh yeah.
The first one sold out in like, a minute something, and then the second one sold out in like 30 seconds. And then I missed 3, but then 4 sold out in 13 seconds. And then so it's definitely it's amazing to see just the support that I get with with the Ronin series. And I'm just grateful, man. It's awesome. So
that's so cool. Did you know that they gave your cover the nickname the Take on Me variant?
What? Oh, really? No,
yeah. Had you heard that?
No, I hadn't heard that. That's crazy.
Yeah, they're calling it the Take on Me, from Aha and all that. So I saw that. I thought that was pretty interesting. I'm like, all right, I guess I kind of get it. But
that's cool. That's super
Did you know that, Eric?
No, I did not know that. That's actually kind of new to me. I didn't realize that. I'm not gonna lie, man. I've been in so many variants. I've been, people were talking about this one, I'm talking about that one, because I do like a lot of looking out for people and try to help them get their variants as well as myself. Prime example, I had to get Bartling's issue 4 cover from Australia. So,
wow, jeez.
So it was a little pretty penny, but I definitely got it. I've been wanting to get his work. I missed out on the first 2 issues because I was into the Ronin, but I wasn't like really, really heavy into the variants at the moment. Yeah. And then
pre-order snuck up on you.
Yeah. And it was like, I seen that one and I was like, man, that is a really, really dope cover. Like I was like, I would love to have that, but it was just like at that time money was kind of tight too as well. But yeah. And then next thing I know, I start getting into like the Ben Bish cover and I'm like, oh my God, I'm never going to get that cover. I'm never going to get that cover. At one point I will. What you will? Just watch. I will. But it's just a matter of time when I will get it. So
this is from the band that just got what was that first printing of Mirage #4. So yeah, like you definitely will get it, I'm sure.
No, I got the second printing. I got the second printing. It was okay. I got the CGC. It was 7.5 of issue 4 Mirage. So, but yeah,
that's awesome. That's so cool. So, I wanted to just ask you a little bit about your history, kind of like with Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. Were you a fan growing up?
I was. It was one of my favorite movies and series to watch. Mostly just the 1 through 3 was kind of what I was, I watched like repeatedly. But to be honest, like I wasn't like, I love like, I asked for like the shirts and toys and all that kind of stuff. But like as a kid, I was super, super into it. And then as I got older, I wasn't super into Ninja Turtles. And then just over the past like few years, I started getting back into it actually. And then it's funny because like I started getting back into Ninja Turtles, and then Ronin was announced, and then I was asked to work on the series, and of course I was like, oh, absolutely, like that's no question asked. And then yeah, so um,
Do you have
yeah,
flashbacks to like the old Nintendo game or anything?
yeah, totally. Like, yeah, it's an amazing series, and just the history and the love that it has is awesome. So.
That's cool. Do you have a favorite of the guys?
Yeah, I think Raphael is probably my favorite. I just like how he's like uh, just like no BS, kind of just he's just like ready to fight like whenever, and like he's like the leader, and so I like that. I think that's cool. He's just kind of like he's ready to just get down whenever. So
He's a
Now,
passionate
like
dude.
now, yes, he is. Now I like even more, Aaron. I'm sorry.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming.
Hmm.
I think
The
that's
other thing we point out is that Raph is the ladies' man too.
yeah, oh, yeah. I think maybe it's because like I was in the military, and so I kind of have that like just like get crap done, kind of like just handle it,
Hmm.
fight like this. There's no point in like waiting around, just like get it done, And like he's kind of just like that. He's the leader. So I think that's why he resonates with me. But
Does that help you with your artwork, having a military background, maybe with like time management or just the way that you even maybe structure or block out a scene for your art?
that's a good question. So it's funny because I struggle with. I mean, it has helped me in a lot of ways. I think when you're in the military, you're kind of like forced to be structured, and then once you get out, it's like a lot of times. I mean, not all guys. Some guys keep that the rest of their life, but for me, I'm not a super regimented person. It's just not in my character. But I will say that I think being in the military definitely helped me with a really strong work ethic. So now, like, and it kind of gets me into trouble, and sometimes, especially with my family, just because my wife's like, "You're still working," and I'm like, just like grinding 24/7, and she's always like, "Okay, you need to take a break, or like, you need to be done for the day," because I won't stop working. I'll just keep going and going, and so, I mean, that has its perk, at least I'm not lazy. But it's just like a healthy balance, but I definitely think, yeah, being in the military has helped me, with my career now, what I'm doing. So,
What's your favorite medium for art? Like, are you a big digital guy? Do you like paint, oil, canvas? Like, what's your favorite go-to?
yeah. So, I started working digitally about 10 years ago. And before that, I didn't really, I mean, I knew of digital work, but I had never experimented with or dabbled with, working on a tablet or anything like that. So I actually went to an art school in Hawaii for 6 months. And there we actually had some guest artists come out that worked at Pixar. And they had tablets provided. And so they did like a week of like, digital teaching. And so I like instantly fell in love with it. I was like, this is incredible. And I'm like, and I was horrible at first. I was terrible, like it was like kind of, trying to figure out how to look at a screen. And then, cause you're not, I mean, if you have a Cintiq, you're looking at the screen, but the tablet that I use, it's just a USB and it plugs into the back of your computer. And then you're looking at the screen and you're drawing. So it's kind of like a weird thing to get used to. So I was really bad at it, but I loved it, and I loved how just the like the things that you can do on it, with switching colors on the fly
Oh
or
yeah.
making adjustments on the fly. Like you can't do that with traditional mediums. It's just, it's like, you got to wait for paint to dry, and then you got to mix stuff and then go back over if you make mistakes. If you make a mistake digitally, it's like you just hit the history bar and go back a couple clicks and like, so it's just, I mean, it just makes makes working just so good. And especially when you're trying to meet deadlines and everything, like it comes in handy. So I worked digitally for the past 10 years, and then I actually just started in the last like year or so getting back into working traditionally. And I think it's really, I'm glad I have, but I think it's really hurt me in a lot of ways because I worked digitally for so long. And so, and then going back to paper, it's like kind of what I just mentioned. It's like, when you make a mistake, that's it. It's like, you got to like sit with whatever mark you made, and like, you can make slight corrections, but like, it's not like digital, so, it's been a big learning curve of like, getting back into it, and especially being in comics, everyone was always like, oh bro, like, you shouldn't just do cover work, you should be doing commissions too. And just the whole idea of doing commissions scared me, because I was like, man, like working traditionally, like, can I pull this off? And it's funny because when I first started doing comics, I didn't know anything about, I knew about autographs or signatures, but I had no idea about remarks. And so the whole idea of like doing, taking these Sharpies and marking up a cover, like, just terrified me. I was just like, man, like, I'm going to totally like destroy someone's cover, And so initially, like, when people were telling me about that, I'm like, man, I'm not going to remarks. Like, that's like scary. And I'm not even that good at doing traditional work. So but I was like, you know what? Like, I have to do this, It's something that people are going to want. And, it's a big, especially now, I feel like it's a big part of, especially like with variants and everything, like, and it's kind of become like a big thing for me, where I feel like I'm kind of making my mark in the industry, my mark, quote unquote, in the industry with my remarks, because I really do pride myself now on them. And like, I'm trying to kind of like use that as a way to brand myself, in the industry, is like, oh, Aaron's known as the guy who does like ridiculously crazy remarking, So it's been awesome, man. Like, I love working traditionally now, and like, and I still love working digitally too, but now I'm just trying to get outside of that safety box and push myself and grow as an artist. And, and I know by working traditionally more, it will benefit me. So I say all that too. I say all that because I kind of did things backwards. And so I tell a lot of artists that are kind of like up and coming and kind of maybe their skill level isn't to where it needs to be yet to work professionally. But the thing that I would just tell people is, if you can get really good traditionally first and then move into digital, that's the way to go. Because what I did was I went the digital route first, like seriously with art. And then it kind of hurt me because it was like, I didn't, all the principles of art, like, value, color theory, perspective, anatomy, gesture, all these things, like, I was doing it digitally, but it's I think it's better to learn things traditionally first, so how to draw, like, and how to paint and stuff, and then it'll just translate over to working digitally a lot easier, and so so that's kind of where I'm at now with with my mediums. And working digitally is just like another medium. Like, it's so that's all I'll say about that. But
you get to keep I guess it's just kind of a file, right? Like when you do like a digital, you don't have like an actual like proof or something like that. That would be like the actual page though, right? Like, do you get to keep the covers, like the artwork for that?
Yeah, so with the digital work, it's all just it's just files I'll put on like an external hard drive once it's done. But there's no original really. There's not like any OA I can really provide. I know a lot of guys like like Alan Qua and stuff. They'll work traditionally first and then scan in the image and then have it enhanced and then like colored and everything. I don't really do that. I'll just jump right into doing it digitally. Which is another thing I'll go back to why I wish I would have done things traditionally first, is because I would love to do a cover completely traditionally and then, be able to offer the OA to someone and, sell it for, a ton. And
yeah, well, that's why I mentioned it. And I'm literally channeling like the spirit of Jack Kirby in my ear, where it's like, save your artwork.
Yeah, I can only imagine what your OA would go for your first Ronin.
Yeah. Oh man.
I mean, the covers. Just the comics itself is. I mean, I just seen one today. I was showing my dad, and it was like 2,400, and it was a 9.8.
Yep,
TGC.
That's the one I saw.
So I'm just like, like, can you imagine what the OA would be like? I mean, you're looking at thousands of dollars right there, brother. I mean, it's so crazy.
I saw one maybe a month ago going for $5,000.
Oh my God.
I mean, if you think about it, it's like you're to the point where it's like you're up and coming. And I mean, there's speculator markets and all that, and there's like things that, like the '90s taught us a lot about comics. But like right now, we're in a craze with variants and grading, and like you said, the remarks and all that. So it's like the value is there because the quantities are limited and all that. You could be potentially looking at, like, if you're sitting on those books down the road, $5,000.
Well, yeah, and it's crazy, man. Because there's even I know of some instances where there's been some 9.9s that have sold for like close to $10,000, and so there's. And what's even crazier is, I don't know if you guys saw, not too long ago, I posted Jason with Capture Collectibles. I worked with him. I always work with him in the Comic Mint because they're partners. But when I worked at MegaCon, I did there was a guy and he brought like 10 Ronins, and they were all like metals for the most part. And so I did the work on them. And then Jason, since he's a facilitator, he got them all graded. And they were like a bunch of 9.9s, pretty much all 9.9s. And then there was a 10, and it was remarked. And so I was talking to somebody about it, and I was like, man, if a 9.9's can go for like $10,000, imagine what a 10 could go for. Like, I mean, I feel like you could be pushing like 15, maybe even 20. And I will say this too, if the Last Ronin gets option for any kind of animated film or live action or anything, I feel like it's just gonna like skyrocket in value and price.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty wild, man. I mean, it's like, someone was kind of joking, like, bro, like, if it gets option for film, that 10, imagine like whoever owns that, like they could potentially be sitting on a book that's like $50,000 or $30,000 or something.
Yeah, they're buying a boat, man.
It's insane, man. It's truly crazy. You
bring up a really good point, though. If they do make this into an animated film, and I feel like that would be the way to go, like the DC kind of films would be the best way. Totally. Who would you hear in your head as the voice of the Ronin?
That's a great question, man.
Because everybody reads the Ronin in their head, I kind of read him like this, a little gritty, like I do like the Michelangelo, but it's like part Clint Eastwood and all that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't have any names off the top of my head, but now I want to kind of think about it because it's funny. I'm not sure.
It's like when most people read Batman books, they're hearing Kevin Conroy and they're hearing Mark Hamill as the Joker. So I just like where
that's awesome.
Were you the first one to come up with the ghost concept for the brothers? Like
I think, I don't want to assume, but I think I was, because when all the variants were coming out initially, because I think there was like 72 or 75 variants that came out for the issue one. And I looked around. Yeah, I know. Tell me. I looked around a lot, and it was like everything was very like action based, and not really. I didn't see anything with like ghosts, and I didn't see anything really touching on like the emotional aspect. And so I think that's why I was like, okay, I definitely want mine to stand out, and I want mine to be different than everyone else's. And so that's why I went the route of I don't want action. I want story and pulling at the heartstrings, and so that's the route I took. And thank God, like it totally paid off, like it worked out because it did help mine stand apart, and doing the ghost concept was, I think me and Denton with Line Breakers, we bounced ideas back and forth, and the ghost thing just came relatively quickly. We just kind of like both agreed that like, hey, we felt like his brothers are dead, or we don't know really what's going on, but there may be some type of like spirits or ghosts or something, and they're following him and they're helping him out. And so it was just like it wasn't like we didn't really struggle with the idea going back and forth. We're like, yeah, like it's perfect. Like, let's go with the ghost theme, So
Yeah, because we were all wondering. I mean, like you can even go back to like my old episodes and all that, but like
yeah,
we were wondering if like, do they know? Do they know which one? And it was a circumstance where we were looking at the turtles trying to figure out who the Ronin was based on what you had put out, and the world is in a friggin' tizzy trying to who are these people? And you can look at like everything, and it's your cover showing up on YouTube and on all this stuff, and it's like, oh my god.
dude, honestly, it's insane, man. It's so funny that you say that, because me and my wife would just bust up laughing, because when number one first dropped, I mean, it really did like go viral, like it was like on like so many different Instagram pages and Facebook. Like I was seeing it everywhere, and there would be like some pages on Instagram with like 250,000 likes and like 1,000 comments, just like ridiculous. And I'm like reading all the comments, and like everyone had all their speculation. They're like, oh, it's definitely Raphael, and like, or whatever. Like,
Yep,
like
absolutely.
And it was like, so it was cool for me, because like, and I had people messaging me all the time, like saying like, hey, can you tell me who's the Last Ronin? Saying like, which turtle's on the left, which turtle's on the right, who's in the middle, like, and I would have to tell people like, I honestly have no idea. Like IDW, they kept it so close to the belt, like they didn't want anything getting out. So like I didn't know anything. The only thing that I knew was the same thing that everyone else knew with the Ash Can. When the Ash Can was released, and we saw the initial, few panels and a little synopsis of what the story was going to be about, that's literally all I had to go off of. So my guess was as good as everyone else's. And I just kind of like, I don't know, maybe like subconsciously I was thinking, okay, this is, this turtle, this is this turtle, or whatever, I don't think I put too much thought into it, but it was just funny that like so many people like had this, they like conjured up this whole story in their head, of like,
head canon, yeah.
He has this weapon, so that means that this must be him. It's like it was really entertaining and just like really just awesome to just sit back and watch it like unfold. And I think I just love so much seeing, like how passionate people are about TMNT, like, and the fact that they like, there was people like, writing full on paragraphs, they're writing full on paragraphs of what they think is going on in my cover and who's the last and like it was just, it just was wild to me, I'm just sitting back just like, this is crazy. People are like coming up with their own like full on stories, and like it was cool seeing like everybody had their own interpretation and their own thought process behind it all, and like it's just seeing the individuality of people, and like I think that's what's so cool about art, is like everyone that sees it, it's like they all interpret it in a different way, like, and it's that's the beauty of it, you know. And so
Good art breeds discussion. I mean, that's the thing. Like whether it's good or bad or
Mhm.
just controversial. I mean, if
totally,
people are talking about it, it has an emotional effect on them.
totally. Yeah,
Yep.
I agree. Yeah, and I think that's why I've always, you know, and there's going to be covers that it's not always like this. You know, like sometimes I'll just be like, you know what, I don't really know how I could push the story or you know make it emotional or whatever. So it might just be like a cool character, you know, like something cool. And you know that doesn't mean that it's not going to sell bad, but I think the thing that I always just try to focus on is just pushing the storytelling elements and having some emotion there, because I think that's what really sticks with people. You know, that's what really gets into people's hearts and minds. You know, and like I always go back to, I use this a lot. I feel like I say this on like every podcast I'm on, but I always think of like Disney and Pixar, because they, especially more so Pixar, because if you notice, like, I mean, every Pixar movie you watch, well, maybe for me, maybe I get emotional, but I feel like I cry like every Pixar movie, you know,
Don't
like
get me started on Coco, man.
I know, right? Like,
You got a friend in me.
exactly. Like they are master storytellers. At the end of the day, they are master storytellers. They know how to emote. They know how to pull up the viewer's heartstrings with the use of music, color, lighting, you know, facial expression. Like there's so many things there. You know, there's so many cues that they're using to try to really reel the viewer in and make them feel something. And at the end of the day, that's what, you know, when you leave the movie, you're not like, oh yeah, I mean, that was a cool movie. You know, you're like, you know, you're like, you're having conversations, you know, you're like, yeah, it made me feel this way. And, oh, do you remember when that part happened? Man, I was holding back the tears, you know, like that's the kind of stuff that's why they win awards. And that's why they're so successful, because they know how to do it right. And so I feel like for me, that's what I try to do is, you know, it have some type of, I don't want to just make a cool piece. I want the viewer to be like, what's going on here? What's the character feeling? What's, you know, what are they doing? What's this world that's been created in this single image, you know, like, and so, and as a cover artist, it's fun for me because the interior artists, they're obviously telling the full story. I only have one image to do that. So I have to really be tactical about how I approach the cover and trying to say as much as I can in one image, because I don't have a bunch of panels to tell the whole story, you know? So, yeah.
Is that something that you're interested in doing down the road? Would you want to be a cover or like an interior artist?
That's a good question.
Or even like a creator-owned project, something like that?
Yeah, maybe a creator of an IP would be cool. At this point, I have no real interest in doing interiors. I have a little experience doing interiors as a colorist, and it was pretty cool. I mean, it was good to have the experience, but I think I just enjoy doing covers, and I mean, I know it sounds like silly, you know, maybe to say this, but the financial aspect of it is much different.
I can imagine. Yeah.
So doing interiors, there's been a lot of horror stories from a lot of artists that have, you know, come out publicly that they were, you know, underpaid and overworked and all this kind of stuff. And that's what happens a lot of times with interior artists is they do so much work and they're just not compensated as they should be for it, you know. And being a cover artist, like I make decent money doing what I'm doing, you know, like, and I think that's why I want to keep doing it. And I got a family to support. So if it was just me, then, you know, I dabble in the interiors, but you know, it's like, I got bills to pay, I got rent to pay. And, you know, so it's like, I can't really, at this point, I can't really experiment with that. You know, it's like, I'm just kind of sticking with what I enjoy and what, you know I can do well at. So.
Yeah, I totally understand that too. And I mean, there's definitely like a prestige when it comes to working on certain books and things. And I guess that's one of those things that could be used as like a carrot to put in front of someone. But at the end of the day, it is a business too.
Yeah.
And it's, as much as we're talking about like how much these covers are worth as like an investment and stuff like that too, but it's like, yeah, you've got to eat and feed the family too. So
Yeah.
I totally agree. And it seems like the way it's going now with Kickstarters and things like that, your creator owned IPs are going to be the wave of the future.
Yeah, totally. No, I agree. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, maybe down the road, I would like to do, my own thing. I think the other thing too, that's kind of held me back from going down that road is just that, I feel like I struggle thinking of like original stuff, and just thinking about like creating my own world and my own characters and all that. Like I almost just, I'm like, it's not even worth trying to explore because I feel like there's so much stuff that's influenced by other things, and I know that's obviously bound to happen, but originality is just really hard to come by nowadays because I feel like, I'm sure you've heard that saying, like everything's been done under the sun. That's like
I prefer Simpsons did it.
Yeah.
They're still going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's kind of like, man, do I even want to like try? Because I feel like I could just see, like me coming up with something and then people would be like, oh, that really reminds me of this character, or oh man, the world you created reminds me so much of this, and it's like, man, how can, and I'm not saying, people can't come up with 100% original stuff. It's just really hard to do. And I feel like if I was going to do something, I really am big on wanting to stand apart, like I want to make my mark in, not only the industry, but like the world, like to leave some type of like legacy behind, so.
Well, the cool thing about it, just from talking to you, is it seems like you're putting a fair amount of psychology into the idea of what you're doing, and taking that experience from working with the Pixar folks and all that,
Yeah.
and moving to like the emotional sort of gravitas of it, and that definitely shows in what you're doing, as opposed to like, yes, it's awesome to see sometimes someone bursting through glass with a motorcycle in an action thing, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I want that cover too. And I want your cover, so it's just, and it's not just that I want them all, I want the ones that speak to me. And yours is speaking to me for a different reason. It's, tugging at the heartstrings. It's begging the question. It's telling a little bit more of the story. And I mean, this is going to be an iconic vision of the Turtles, like up there with like, when you see the movie and you see like the little turtles picking their heads up and there's a different masks and all that, and it says turtles coming, like the movie poster, that's how iconic your cover is going to be going forward in like this industry. It's going to be like perennial, and it's, maybe it'll be like Jim Lee, and like 30 years from now they'll take it and they'll put it on like the covers of some other sort of comic,
Dude,
but it's just it's going to have staying power, man.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, you got to think, it's 300, only 300 is limited, right?
Yeah, it was only 300 copies.
Yeah, so I mean, there's not that many out there.
Yeah.
So if whoever has one, I mean, yes, it's very, very prestigious, and like I said, like with your cover and Ben Bishop's issue 2, to me, are like my top Grail.
That's awesome.
Best one.
Dude, I love that issue 2 cover.
Because like you said, like you like pulling on heartstrings, and like to me, like with covers, when you have covers that you could tell that somebody really fully, I mean, all of them put their heart in it, but I mean, they poured everything into it.
Yeah.
And to have that emotion, and like I said, like with yours, I mean, it pulls on heartstrings, and like you got the 3 ghosts behind him, all hands on his shoulder and all this other stuff. So I mean, it's a story. It's it's telling a story. Like with Ben's, where he's got the 4 bandanas and the weapons down, and it's like, it was very symbolic, and it was just, it's sad, but it's storytelling to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Just by the covers.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't even get to bring up the other covers that we have. Like, obviously we've got the first one, but for the other set of covers that you've done, you said you didn't get to do number 4, but you'll be back again for number 5.
I didn't get to do number 3. So
number 3, okay.
So So I was the only one I missed. And can't confirm or deny that I'm doing 5. But it's looking like I will.
We may already know.
Yeah.
We know the same people. He can't say. It's all right.
I know. He can't say anything, and that's fine. That's fine. You know, some people already know the answers, and
Yeah.
I know you're one of them.
I mean, I'm sure everyone can make a guess at what's going to happen, but
I would just say shout out to and this is not related to what we were just talking about, but I would send a shout out to our friend Joel Czar from Joel Czar's Collectibles. He has his pre-order up for issue 5. There's actually 9 different covers that you can get right now. And Eric, wasn't there a special sort of deal that he had if you ordered like 15 comics from him?
Yeah, there was you actually get a free Ronin. It was going to be limited to 250, but it's 500 now. He had to be honest with you, I don't want to spill the beans on this one, but he originally was supposed to have 15 covers, but IDW and decided just to only do 10 with him. So they were going to do 8, but they moved up to 10, and now they all had to be 500. So
that's so awesome. Still, I mean, it's
the
fact that you can make that much of an impact on a book, and I mean, he's just like a regular guy. He's an awesome regular businessman guy that is passionate about comics, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna have the most Ronin variants. You're like, what?
Yeah.
So again, unrelated to Aaron, if he is or is not doing issue 5, and I hope he is doing issue 5. But yeah, just crazy. Yeah.
Well,
like I said, I plead the fifth. I'm not saying anything.
And the last
looking forward. I can't wait to get your issue 4 in my hands. So it's going to be a few weeks, but yeah.
Dude,
yeah, you said Australia, right? Woo.
I will say that if I do end up doing it, if I do end up doing it, it will be with Tommy again from Yellow Snow.
Of course.
And we had talked about, if it works out to do it, that we'll probably do 1,000 print run this time.
Oh, great.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So that was one thing that we talked about. We're like, okay, if we get to do it, I think we're going to up the print count because it's tough because like we went back and forth on it and we're like, man, like it's nice keeping it limited, but then and like Tommy's just, he's so funny. Like, I mean, it's so true because it's like people will find any reason to complain, about things oftentimes, like, and he's like, he's all, this is what's going to happen, bro. He's like, you're going to drop this fire cover. And he's like, people are going to like, before they're mad because there's not enough, and then he's like, watch, this time we'll say it's 1,000 print run. And people will be like, oh, now you guys are being greedy.
Yeah. It's damned if you do and damned if you don't type thing.
So it's just like whatever, man. Like,
a lot of these prices are secondary market anyway. So it's like they're eBay or private collectors or like at conventions and things like that. That's where you're seeing a lot of these things. Like chances are by the time these things get out there and they're being sold and all that on a secondary market, you guys don't even get a piece of that. Yeah. Why wouldn't you increase the run based on your popularity for previous issues? That's a good supply and demand business model.
Totally. Yeah. And it's like, for me, I'm like, hey, if we up it to 1,000, cool. That just means more people that can get one, like, and they like, I'm honestly, frankly, like, I'm tired of people, not tired in the sense that it's annoying. I'm tired of people messaging me saying like, oh, I didn't get one, because like, it really does bum me out, like, I'm really like, man, like, I wish more people could have got it, like, cause there's so many fans out there like that wish they could have got one. And they're like, oh, I couldn't afford it at the time, or I missed it, or scalpers got one instead, or whatever the reasoning is. And it's just, it bums me out, man. Cause I'm like, man, I don't know what to tell you, brother. Like, I wish I could help you out. I don't have any copies. Like, I think your best bet is just maybe going to like eBay or something, but you're going to have to pay a pretty penny. And it's just, it's a bummer. So I think I am actually pretty excited about, if we do get to doing a bigger print run, because then 1,000 people can get one. So it'd be cool.
Yeah.
I hope at one point they do something like a either like a poster print, or maybe if you're allowed to down the road, do like a print or something for like a convention or something like that. I would love to have that framed on my wall, because that's just so cool.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. I would love to do like some type of print or something. They're just with Line Breakers, when they were releasing some stuff, they got like big backlash from IDW. So now I'm super hesitant now to.
I don't blame you. Yeah.
Oh, good.
I don't blame you with backlash and stuff like that. You can't burn contacts and stuff like this.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably something that you guys probably have to work out between you, linebackers, and IDW. I mean, to be honest with you, man, like if you was to get that up right now, I mean, like you better send me the link privately first, and then I'll go get it. Because I seriously, because I would put it up on my wall, because I have literally my room is painted like a turtle shell, so
that's so crazy.
Like
that's awesome.
I have turtle stuff everywhere on my wall, even on my like fireplace that I have, like the concrete part. There's turtle figures sitting down there. Like I got turtle stuff everywhere.
That's awesome.
And to have something like that, like to have that on my wall, I would love to have something like that on my wall.
Totally. Yeah, man, that'd be sweet. Yeah, well, hopefully one day. I mean, that would be cool if that door opens. I'd love to. So, but I'm honestly I'm so grateful that I've even gotten to work on this series and have a part in it. It's really cool. So.
What can you tell us about what you're working on next?
So actually which I'm very, very excited about. I just announced today that I did a Cowboy Bebop cover.
Wow.
Yeah, which is huge. And I'm truly just so excited about it, because it was really awesome getting to work with we worked with Titan on it, and it's cool too, because in a way I get to say that I worked with Netflix, because I had to get approved to work, and they're the ones that are approving everything along the well, it's done now, but but it's cool to have that kind of exposure. I
think the series looks amazing. For the record, I'm just saying I'm glad that his foot's better, so they got back to it, and I'm excited.
I think it's gonna be super cool, and I'm so stoked that I had this opportunity to work on it, especially just because it has such a huge following and people love it so much. And we're really hoping that ours. I did it with Trevor Brown at Galahad's, and so we're really hoping that it just blows up and does really well. We're supposed to go to. I'm going to. That was another thing I announced. I'm going to Emerald City with him.
Cool.
In December, and so there's word, I guess, that he's like, I don't know if it's 100% true, but he heard that the cast is actually going to be there, and so he was like, bro. He's like, if we're able to get some SIGs on some of the books or whatever, he's like, imagine if we can get John Cho's signature, and then you're doing remarks and signatures on them, and then we're gonna have a facilitator there potentially to get them graded. He's like, dude, that would be amazing. So I'm super pumped about it. And I can't wait for this cover. I'm there's a lot of covers. I mean, I enjoy every cover I do, I really do. But there's some where I'm really proud of, and I really feel really proud of this one. Where I think it's going to do really well. So
that's amazing. I'm blown away by that. That's I was thinking about your art style, and I was thinking about contemporaries and stuff, and I really kind of feel a vibe of a Gabriel Del Otto with you, that's where I go to with your stuff.
That's awesome. That's cool.
I would love to see if one day you got a chance to do some really good Daredevil covers. So That would be like for me, that's where it's like, oh man, he needs to get on that. If Marvel knows anything, they should be like, we need to get Aaron in on these for covers.
Man. I would have such a blast because Daredevil is literally like one of my favorite characters. So getting Daredevil would be literally a dream come true. I'd be like ecstatic. So hopefully, dude, like, I mean, I'm not Marvel approved yet, but hopefully in the next, 6 months or year or something, hopefully I can get in with them. And then, that'd be freaking awesome.
It's okay. I'm a DC guy. So
yeah, okay.
I think Daredevil's the only thing that I still buy from Marvel, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that was, we just announced that. And then I'm going to be working on, well, man, I wish I could say. I can't say, but there's a few covers that I think are going to be really cool. And then I can't talk about this one. I just did a Good Boy cover with Garrett from, over at Source Press. And then that's pretty much all I can talk about. And then all the other ones I'm not allowed to talk about yet. But
I'm a big fan of Source Point Press. I mean, we talked about that like when we first got on. I recommend to anyone who's listening, check out Source Point Press. Yeah. They've got some really great books over there. Some and there's a lot of horror that they'll do. Yeah. A good friend of mine wrote a book called How Much Do You Tip an Exorcist? So you can check that out, available from Source Point Press. Shout out to Patrick Rahal. So not that he's listening, but that's fine.
Hey, do you mind?
Yeah, well, I'll tell him he's in it. Maybe he'll listen. Yeah. No, he's a great guy.
Yeah, they're a great company. So that was super fun, and I'm actually really excited for that one. I think have you guys heard of Whatnot? Have you heard of that? The company Whatnot?
Is that the new app that Ben Bishop asked us to join?
Yeah. Exactly. So they,
yes.
I had never heard about the company, and I was like, their business pitch was really interesting to me. And I think it's actually going to be really successful. I know they're kind of like, they haven't been around for too long, but they're actually the ones that they acquired the cover. So they're pitching it to, I think like 10 different retailers. And they give them like a package deal, and then they can purchase the package and then have the logo of their retail shop on the back of the cover.
Oh.
And what it does is it gives like up and coming retailers like an opportunity to hop into the exclusive game and not pay like an exorbitant amount, like it's a little bit more reasonable. And then so it's actually a really cool business plan that they have. So Garrett's the one that reached out to me to do the Good Boy #1, and then they're the ones that like paid me, and they're like actually using the art. So
that's great.
So it's cool.
That's awesome. Eric, was there anything that you wanted to ask?
Oh no, man! But one thing I like to say, like appreciate you coming up on here on the podcast. Thank you. I know that you're a busy man, and it's kind of hard to fit you in sometimes. But greatly, I know Justin does, and I do. We greatly appreciate you coming on here, taking your time out of whatever you're in the middle of the process doing. Hopefully. Sorry, I had to stick that in there. I said hopefully. Hopefully.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was actually
I said hopefully. Okay.
Marks on the cover.
But
anyway, that counts because you were doing the remarks. You showed me it's a Triceraton and a Rock Soldier.
Yeah, exactly.
It's friggin' amazing.
That one he did where it's like all of like the characters on there. Are you talking about that one? That one he posted one on the other day where he had like.
No, he just showed me before you got on.
I just showed him.
That was crazy.
I haven't posted it yet. The new one that I just did. But
well, speaking of that, I have your social media. I've got Twitter at Aaron Bartling. I've got Instagram Aaron Bartling Art. I've got AaronBartlingArt.com, AaronBartling.artstation.com, and Facebook, Aaron Bartling. What's the best place for someone to get a hold of you if they need to? Obviously, they shouldn't be asking you for copies of Last Ronin #1, but if they have a question, maybe they're trying to get a signing, a signature, a remark, anything like that, what's your preferred way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so usually I would say Facebook, just my personal Facebook, just Aaron Bartling. I try to be as responsive as I can on there. And so that and Instagram, I'm usually pretty good about getting back to people promptly. So yeah, I mean, all the ones, I'll get back to people, but I would say if you want to reach out to me about anything, Facebook and Instagram are usually my go-to. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. I want to thank you for coming on, and I really appreciate it. It's been great to get to talk to you just about your turtle experience and all this. Before I have you go, one thing I do always ask is all of our episodes end with a pizza recipe. What is your favorite topping on pizza?
Ooh, dude, I'm a simple man, so I would say just cheese and pepperoni, man. I would say
Okay.
that's my go-to. But if there's a secondary option, I'm a big fan of. I don't know if you guys are a fan of this, but I go to Pieology. I don't know if there's a Pieology around you guys.
No.
But it's kind of like it's like you can make your own custom pizzas. I don't know if it's like only a SoCal.
Oh, we have mod pizza
Oh,
out here.
okay, yeah. So yeah, it's basically mod. It's just called Pieology. But honestly, when I go there, usually my go-to is either a barbecue chicken pizza or I'll do pepperoni and I'll have like pineapple and like barbecue sauce on there and all that.
Oh, that sounds good.
It's pretty fire.
You do red onion on there on your barbecue pizza?
What was that?
Do you do red onion on your barbecue pizza?
Oh yeah. Red onion, cilantro.
Yes.
I'll do some bell pepper. I'll do some olives and heavy sauce. I'm big on. I'm not too much of a cheese guy because my stomach kind of gets affected by a lot of cheese. So I'm usually like, hey, load on the marinara, just slather it, and and then obviously a lot of pepperoni. But yeah,
that's awesome. I'll have to look up a recipe that has barbecue pizza or something with pepperoni for you then. So the last one was a peanut butter pizza, which was like a Thai sort of. I guess they mixed the peanut butter with the sauce in the recipe. So I'm like, wow, I got to try that too. But that's pretty crazy.
Wow. Huh. That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah. And apparently it's delicious. So,
I would have never expected that, but hey, I mean,
I have not tried it yet, but
that's
plan on it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's cool. Well,
I appreciate it. And I'm just going to, I'll say goodbye to everybody. And then I will be back with our pizza recipe of the week.
Cool. And thank you guys for having me on. I really do appreciate it. It was a blast talking to you guys.
Of course.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on, man. We're definitely happy to get you on. I'll tell you that.
Awesome.
Hi, this is Adam, aka Casey Jones from Casey Jones Livewire, and you're listening to Epic Tales from the Sewers. Time for a knuckle sandwich, punk.
It's pizza time.
And now, in a segment that we call Pizza Time, where we discuss any Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle or pizza-related food, I give you Pizza Time.
Hey everyone, for Pizza Time today, we're looking at a recipe called Sausage and Pepper Pow. You might need a knife and a fork for this one, and plenty of napkins. This classic Italian-American flavor combo can be found in a sandwich and pizza shops throughout New York City. The pizza can also be a crowd pleaser at any turtle-rific party. Ingredients: cornmeal or flour for dusting, 2 teaspoons extra virgin olive oil, divided, plus 1 more for brushing and greasing, 1/2 pound sweet or hot Italian sausage, casings removed, 1/2 large green bell pepper, seeded and sliced, 1/2 medium yellow onion, halved and sliced, 1 pound ball pizza dough, homemade. Check out our pages 17 through 19 in the Ninja Turtles cookbook, or store-bought. 1/3 cup no-cooked tomato sauce, 3/4 cup of shredded low moisture mozzarella. So you can lighten it up, dudes, if you want. Use whole wheat pizza dough, or you can use vegan or turkey sausage, as well as low-fat mozzarella. Instructions: on a baking stone or a steel rack, place the baking stone in the middle of a rack of the oven and preheat to 500 degrees Fahrenheit for at least 30 minutes. Then turn the oven to broil. Dust the pizza peel or an inverted baking sheet with a cornmeal or flour. On a baking sheet, preheat the oven to 500 degrees Fahrenheit with a rack in the middle position. Lightly coat a heavy-duty rimmed baking sheet with olive oil. Step 1. Put a teaspoon of olive oil on the medium heavy-bottom skillet or cast iron pan and set it on a medium heat. When the oil starts to ripple, crumble the sausage and cook it for about 3 minutes, breaking it up with a wooden spoon so it's no longer pink. Remove the sausage from the skillet using a slotted spoon and place a paper towel-lined plate for it to drain. Step 2. Add the remaining teaspoon of oil to the skillet, still over medium heat, and throw in the pepper and onion. Cook stirring every minute or two until the vegetables are soft and beginning to brown, probably about 5 minutes. Step 3. When the pepper and onion are done cooking, turn off the heat. Return the sausage to the pan and toss well aside to cool. Step 4. Stretch or roll the dough onto a 12-inch disc and place it on the prepared pizza peel or baking sheet. Step 5. Spoon the tomato sauce onto the dough and spread it out evenly, leaving a half-inch border for the dough all around. Step 6. Scatter on all the cheese, then arrange the sausage, pepper, and onion mixture on top. Step 7. Shimmy the dough from the peel into the hot baking stone or transfer to a baking sheet in the oven. Bake until the crust is golden and the cheese is just beginning to brown in spots, probably about 6 to 8 minutes at 500 degrees on the baking stone, or 10 to 15 minutes on the baking sheet. Step 9. Remove the pizza from the oven and let it cool for 5 minutes, then serve and slice. This has been your pizza time for the day. The recipe is sausage and pepper pow.
Cowabunga, dudes! Thank you for listening to the Epic Tales from the Sewers podcast. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were created by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. This podcast has no affiliation with Eastman, Laird, IDW Studios, Nickelodeon Studios, Archie Comics, or any other Turtles properties. This podcast is a member of the Epic Sewers Podcast Network. Be sure to check out our other great shows, some turtle-related, some not. Thanks for listening. Epic Tales from the Sewers is recorded by Justin Cooper.
Hey there, this is JB, and if you enjoyed Tales from the Crypt, then check out my show, Tales from the Podcast, where myself, and usually a very special guest, sit down to discuss the TV show, the films, the animated series, as well as the original comics. So check me out every other week on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, and of course at talesfromthepodcast.com.
Thanks for listening, kiddies. You're all a scream.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. We have very active lifestyles. It's not all wandering the countryside aimlessly or scaring passing motorists. And we all love a good cup of joe. And there's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. Bold, robust, delicious. It's coffee that can wake the dead. With over a dozen different roasts and flavors, Deadly Grounds can satisfy the most finicky of coffee addicts. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for, and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.